Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Jonathan, and welcome back to Money Talks, where we want to offer you financial information and meet you where you are financially so that you can stick to your budget, manage to pay off your debt, and begin to save on your path to building wealth. Today, guys, I want to walk through how you can really jumpstart your finances. If this is your first time joining me here on this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. So guys, so often we might get sidetracked about this building wealth, and sometimes you're not making the progress that you want. But remember, you have to have goals in each line of where you're trying to take your money direction to. So if you're trying to build wealth, you have to have savings goals and you have to have ways to celebrate to get there. But also, as you're trying to prepare and you're starting to move on and you're starting to progress in your wealth building, you have an emergency fund, you're investing a little bit better, you're investing is starting to pay off. Let's not forget the basics of what's going on. Number one, you always need to have a plan and you always need to be operating within your budget to make sure that you are maximizing your potential. One good example of this is maybe you've increased your income over the past year or so. And right now you want to give yourself extra to spend, but I would encourage you to really look at what are you actually spending for? Why are you giving yourself extra? It's a challenge that I personally had that I looked back and I said after the first month, that's great that I have all this cash, but what am I actually buying? Where am I actually going? And you might buy a few meals here and there, but not to that level. So it's important that you realize, hey, utilize the time that you're in with this whole lockdown, with this whole getting the country back going and the economy back going. Use this as a great time to jumpstart those savings goals, because once life does get going, it'll release less pressure, or you should have less pressure on the fact of, are you saving enough? The second thing is, how can you progress forward? Don't just think about what goal you have. Understand, okay, after I hit this goal, what's going to be the next one? A couple things that came up when people were hitting very large feats, depending on what person you listen to, the transparency can often be a little different. So we read a lot of different stories, and you hear, if you're watching on YouTube or you're looking at different articles about people paying off their homes and the excitement and things that they felt. But I was intrigued by the Financial Samurai, that was a young about 26-year-old, and he talked about the challenge of paying off that home after the fact that he didn't make as much financial progress. And it really comes back to, when we talk about the basics, how do you know yourself? You really do have to know yourself and what you're trying to do. It's not about just amassing a lot of wealth, because after you've hit certain feats, you can seem to fall back, and you should have some sort of rhythm, but you should also, with your money, need to have some way where you're progressing forward and still trying to make things happen. And your motivation should, at the underlying thing, not be geared about the money, but about other intangible things. What gets you up and keeps going? That's why when people talk about retiring or they're about to retire, it's not about, the first thing is, do you have enough money to retire? And then the second piece is, what are you going to do in retirement? What are you going to do once you have all this time? If you step away from your job that you wasn't really feeling too well, what are you going to do? Especially if you're a 30-some-year-old, 20, 35, 40, 45. There's so much time that gives you and so much opportunity. What are you going to actually do? What are you passionate about? How are you going to transition? And that's something for you to decide. And it can change, but you still need to have a plan for that next step. The same thing is for when you make a huge accomplishment, like paying off your car or paying off those credit cards, or even paying off the student loans or the house. What are you going to do after that? And so that's why I want you to really look at your plan and really write things down about, okay, am I covering all my bases? I have enough cash that's progressively going. What big expenses do I have? I got a plan for that. How am I growing my career? What am I transitioning to financially? What relationships am I trying to spend more time with? What vacations, or how am I trying to spend my leisure time? Is there a business opportunity that I'm trying to pursue? It's not always opening up the freedom financially to go buy another business. It could be simply that you want to open up the financial freedom just so that you could do more nonprofit work or more community service type endeavors. That's okay. But the point of all this is understand the basics. The basics never change, but the actions that you're doing should change. Next, are you still keeping a pulse, and do you have a plan of how you're going to transition your money? Are you covering your bases in terms of insurance? Do you have your will in place? Do you have trust if necessary if you're a little bit younger? Are you having those discussions with your kids to help make sure they're informed, but also building the skills and the maturity necessary to take on this level of wealth? Again, it's not to scare, but it's the point to saying, hey, we know about 90% of wealth is left in that disappears in that second generation. And so after you work so hard, you don't want to see it dissipate that quickly. So I would encourage you, how do you get back to the basics? If you're going to spend money, what is a way you can evaluate how you spend? Well, first you're going to evaluate how much you're saving versus what you're spending. By now, if you've gotten a little bit more control of your budget, move through some of your debt, especially credit cards and auto loans and all those little anchor bracket debts, and you got your student in your house, you now should start to see in the picture that, hey, I have a position where I can actually save more than I'm actually spending. And that's how you want to look at your budget, because you're starting this thing from scratch. You didn't get a boost. So one of the first ways of getting financially ahead is, number one, can I be on time with my payments? Great. Can I be early? But then when you really want to start making progress, it's, can I have a good life? And on the spending that I'm doing, from bills, leisure, vacations, everything that I'm doing in the month, in the year, but I'm saving more than I'm spending. And then when you look at how much you're saving more than you're spending, then you start to look like, okay, am I using the proper vehicles for saving? What am I saving to? Is that based off my rate of savings? Is that going to be enough based off my age and what my plans are for retirement and how I'm going to transition? These are all things that you need to be aware of. And yes, it can get detailed. And yes, it's not a bad idea to sometimes touch base with someone like a coach, like a financial advisor, tax person, so that you're aware. Next, are you maximizing your tax situation? I think it goes unnoticed oftentimes that every year taxes change and opportunities with taxes change. So you have to keep a pulse, or again, build your personal team out with a tax person that is keeping you on pulse so that you're making and maximizing the dollars that you get. And then lastly, how are you growing your income? But not just how are you growing your income. If you're saving at a great rate, you want to start to think about, how am I growing my income, doing what I like to do in a fashion that I'm passionate about? That's going to be most important, because if you're doing something you like to do and you're passionate about, your income will exponentially grow. But you should be aware of, what is the market telling me? What are clients and businesses saying that they prefer a service for? And you have to understand, it is a continuous thing in all these areas. It's multiple different areas, from your budget to your savings goals and all that. But it's continuous. And in between all that, you don't get so hyper focused on money. You try to find that balance where, yeah, I pay attention, but I still have a calmness about my life and what I'm doing. And that's ultimately what you want to do. Money problems are going to be there, but you don't want money problems to disrupt your countenance, your peace, the things that are going on in your home. You want to accept what's going on, and you want to move. Just because you are making more money or you have more money, you still want to keep things to the basics where, hey, just myself, we had to get extermination done.